thought about it. We have some very good people, as you know. But I have the best poll numbers I've ever had. I mean, I just solved 8 wars and a 9th is coming. I believe Russia-Ukraine will happen.
You said that for 2028, there are very good people.
Well, we have great people. Well, I don't have to get into that, but we have one of them standing right here. We have JD, obviously. The vice president is great. I think Marco's great. I think, I'm not sure if anybody would run against those two. I think if they ever formed a group, it would be unstoppable. I really do. I believe that. I would love to do it. I have my best numbers ever. It's very terrible. I have my best numbers. If you read it, am I not ruling it out? I mean, you'll have to tell me. All I can tell you is that we have a great group of people, which they don't. They have Jasmine Crockett, a low IQ person. They have AOC's low IQ. You give her an IQ test, have her pass like the exams that I decided to take when I was at Walter Reed. Those are very hard, they're really aptitude tests, I guess, in a certain way, but they're cognitive tests. Let AOC go against Trump. Let Jasmine go against Trump. I don't think Jasmine, the first couple of questions are easy. A tiger, an elephant, a giraffe, you know. When you get up to about 5 or 6, and then when you get up to 10 and 20 and 25, they couldn't come close to answering any of those questions.
The readout from Walter Reed mentioned advanced medical imaging. Did you get an MRI? Can you tell us what that was?
I did. I got an MRI. It was perfect. Yeah. I mean, I gave you the full results. We had an MRI, and in the machine, you know, the whole thing, yeah. And it was perfect. Yeah.
Can you say what in particular they were?
You could ask the doctors. In fact, we have doctors traveling with us, but I think they gave you a very conclusive. Nobody has ever given you reports like I gave you. And if I didn't think it was going to be good, either I would let you know negatively, I wouldn't run, I'd do something. But the doctor said some of the best reports for the age, some of the best reports they've ever seen.
One theory on how you might try to serve a third term is that you could run as the vice president.
Yeah, I'd be allowed to do that.
Is it the White House, or the White House counsels, or your legal position?
No, you'd be allowed to do that, but I wouldn't. I wouldn't do it. I think it's too cute. Yeah, I would rule that out because it's too cute. I think the people wouldn't like that. It's too cute. It's not. It wouldn't be right.
A new poll from Quinnipiac University showing most Americans, 52%, think Trump is using the DOJ to file unjustified criminal charges against his perceived political enemies. This, on top of his push to transition from president to dictator, made clear again by his long-term ally, Steve Bannon, in a recent statement.
He's going to get a third term. So Trump 28, Trump is going to be president in 28, and people just ought to get accommodated with that.
So what about the 22nd Amendment?
There's many different alternatives. At the appropriate time, we'll lay out what the plan is. But there's a plan, and President Trump will be the president in 28.
Joining me now to discuss is Ankush Kardori, former federal prosecutor and legal writer with Politico, and Molly Jong Fast, contributing opinion writer with the New York Times and MSNBC political analyst. Thank you all so much for joining me today. Ankush, I'll start with you. I just want your immediate thoughts to what Steve Bannon said. This is not the first time he has said that Trump is going to run again. But now he has gone further to say he will be president. He will run again and he will be president. What's your reaction to hearing that kind of confidence from one of the mainstays of the MAGA movement in America?
Look, well, it's very unsettling. I think the prospect of Trump serving a third term should be out of consideration, given the way that the Constitution is structured. I do understand that there's some discussion about some potential novel theories to sort of try to make it happen. Obviously, this has never happened before since the relevant amendment was passed. So this would be extraordinarily unprecedented to even attempt it, extremely disruptive to the American constitutional system. And not for nothing, I'm not even sure it would work. Trump is extremely unpopular right now. And I would, it remains to be seen. There's plenty of time ahead of us, but he does not seem to be on a trajectory anytime soon to reverse his extreme unpopularity with the American public right now.
Molly, given what we've seen from the current Supreme Court, which is dominated by conservatives, the likelihood that they're going to gut the Voting Rights Act, do you think that the Supreme Court would stand in the way if Trump attempted to sue on behalf of his party's plan for him to run again? Where would the pushback come from? Because I don't know that I believe that the court would be the one to stop him.
You know, I would suggest not taking this very seriously. And because, A, I think Steve Bannon has been trying to sell this forever. And, you know, Steve Bannon maybe wants Trump not to be a lame duck because that shows that he has less power. There are all sorts of reasons for Steve Bannon to be pitching this theory, none of which have to do with real life. The other thing I would say is Donald Trump is the oldest person ever to be president. Now, I know he's not Joe Biden, so people can't write books about how old he is, but he is still very, very old. And in 2028, he will be 83 years old. And he also has, and I think this is a really good point, he is wildly unpopular. He is now polling at the lowest he has ever polled in either of his presidencies. So the reality is there are many things that Steve Bannon wants, and good for him. I want a lot of things too. I want, you know, I want a cleaner planet. I want, you know, we all have things we want, but this is one of these things that he's not going to get. And I think that, you know, it only helps him to say stuff like this because it gets him in front of Trump, and Trump likes it, and Trump loves a troll. But, you know, we have rules and laws, and the rest of us have to follow them, and this is how it works. So that would be my move. And I think that this, you know, last weekend, more than 7 million people got out there and protested. It was the largest protest since Earth Day. So clearly the American people are not dying for a third Trump term.
You would think Americans are excited about keeping their planet and probably getting rid of President Trump. Ankush, I want to play this sound from A.G. James outside the court today. Get your thoughts on the other side.
I will not be deterred. I will not be distracted. I will do my job each and every day, and that's why I'm headed back to New York, because there's work to be done. Standing up for the rule of law.
Ankush, what does it say that many of the people that this administration is weaponizing the DOJ after, they're not just pushing back, they're standing up, they're saying, come get me, pull up. Like, what does that say about how people really look at this administration and whether or not they fear it?
Yeah, no, that's a very good point, because typically the advice to a charged criminal defendant is keep your mouth shut, don't say anything. When that person is a public official, they may feel like they need to say a little bit more, but it is very rare to see like the video we saw from James Comey, the speech, you know, the comments that you just offered from Letitia James, and I think they reflect the very conspicuous weakness of the cases against them. I think they're confident that they're going to prevail. I think the odds, based on the publicly available information about both Letitia James's case and the James Comey case, the odds that they will result in a conviction seem very low to me. The cases seem very, very weak, particularly James's case, based on the information available. I would feel, you know, it's never going to be a comfortable situation to be a criminal defendant, but these are highly sophisticated people. They understand the system, and they seem to understand quite well that their odds of prevailing at the end are high.
Let's be honest. American politics has never been a calm lake. But Donald Trump's latest remarks, along with what we've heard from his closest allies, feel less like ripples and more like a political tsunami that threatens to wash away whatever logic is left in Washington. This week, both ABC News and MSNBC covered what some are calling the new Trump shock. The suggestion that he might be considering a third term, yes, third, the one that doesn't actually exist in the U.S. Constitution. Many dismissed it as just another joke, a bit of campaign theater. But judging by how Congress and the public reacted, no one's quite sure anymore where Trump's irony ends and his genuine intentions begin. Interesting. Who's supposed to believe he was just joking? Steve Bannon, one of Trump's most loyal foot soldiers, said recently, "If President Trump wins again in 2024 and delivers for the American people, why shouldn't the people demand a third term?" The crowd applauded. Seriously, seems someone has once again confused reality with a campaign speech. The problem isn't just the idea itself, it's the ease with which it was said. People at the heart of Make America Great Again now talk about rewriting the Constitution as if it's a restaurant menu. Sure, the Constitution is a living document, but not that alive. There's no hidden clause that reads, unless your name happens to be Donald. Of course, Trump's supporters insist it was only symbolic. Right, symbolic. In American history, symbolic phrases have a funny habit of turning into political action. Let's be honest. If any other politician had hinted at a third term, they'd be buried under outrage before the clip finished airing. But Trump? Trump lives in a parallel political universe where rules are optional, and the Constitution is more like a script, something to be rewritten on the fly during live broadcast. Now Congress. Republicans, as usual, are split. Some pretend they didn't hear anything. Others say he meant it metaphorically. Democrats, of course, are ringing every alarm bell they can find, declaring it a threat to democracy. And the funny thing is, they're both right and wrong. Yes, it is a threat, but not necessarily to democracy itself. It's a threat to common sense. When a politician can openly talk about a third term and half the country cheers, that's not politics anymore, that's pathology. Look at the media reaction. ABC News keeps it calm, almost clinical, as if reporting the weather. Possibility of a third term, occasional shock and disbelief across the nation. Meanwhile, MSNBC goes full drama. This could be the end of American democracy if we don't act now. How are we supposed to process that? When one outlet whispers and the other screams, it feels like America's become a political TV series whose writers forgot what genre they're in. Is it a comedy, a tragedy, or a reality show? Behind the sarcasm lies a serious question. Why are they saying this at all? Why do Bannon and others keep testing ideas that openly defy the Constitution? Simple, because it works. It excites the base, fuels social media, drives the news cycle, and creates political capital. Trump understands this better than anyone. The more people misunderstand him, the more airtime he gets. Every outrage becomes free advertising. Every provocation becomes another rallying cry. And that's where the joke stops being funny. If third term becomes just a metaphor for lasting influence, we're entering a new political era, one where leaders don't want to leave office. They want to remain forever. Let's be honest, America stopped being the country where political jokes stay jokes a long time ago. Today, every punchline can become a policy proposal and every soundbite a movement. Maybe Steve Bannon was just throwing out a talking point. But history has a way of turning talking points into turning points. Interesting, who's really buying the idea that this is all just coincidence? We're watching reality reshape itself around politics instead of politics reacting to reality. And if the phrase third term keeps popping up over the next few months, I suspect it won't be an inside joke anymore. So maybe the question isn't, can Trump legally run again? But rather, how long will people keep pretending this is only rhetoric? As always, America is standing at a mirror, arguing with its own reflection. And the reflection's winning. So, tell me, is the country really ready for another season of The Trump Show?